All right, then. As usual, disclaimer, trigger warning, this is game for adults. We are bad people. We do horrible things. Horrible things may happen. You may not like them. But hopefully you'll be entertained.
Things? No. Really? Us?
So this is episode 6? Is it episode 6?
It is indeed.
All that overtime will rot your brain for things like numbers. This is episode 6 of All of Us Sinners, which we will call Simmer. So, because I am tired and don't get days off anymore, would anyone else like to recap what happened last week?
Not it.
All right, I guess that is a no.
We basically played around with the baby vampire for a little bit, and then we went to go break into a car place, and that went poorly, ending with a explosion and places being on fire.
It did, and then you were confronted by some men who you don't know who they were or who they were working for, but you did manage to run away in the ensuing chaos. Some of you less than by choice. Then you went back to Finn's cooking location, for lack of a better word, and dealt more with the baby vampire. But you did discover some things on the laptop, or at least the key to some things on the laptop, through the Minecraft game. So yeah, that's where we are. One point of bookkeeping as I listen back to the game yesterday, today, I don't know, it's all the same day anymore. Penny, you were not the man. You became the beast, but you have a relevant conviction, so you would have incurred a stain. Your conviction of fear makes us feel our humanity, I think, applies to protect you from that. So just to bring it up that it happened and then didn't happen was my point there. Also, I made a bad call last week about the scene change that should not have happened. So I think you incurred a hunger from your second rouse roll, so just go ahead and remove that one hunger, which I think brings you back to 1.
Correct.
Alright, so we find ourselves at one of Finn's locations. Morgan and Jacob are looking at the laptop. Morgan is not currently active reclining because her brain is occupied. The two of them are trying to figure out a cipher they have come across in the Minecraft game, which I almost hate that I'm using because it wasn't my original idea, but it just kind of fell into the game. Yeah, so the rest of you are doing something. There is not a whole lot of time left in the night. If people are going to split to go home, now is probably the time to do it. So where does that leave our burgeoning coterie?
I hate to say it, but as they say, parting is such sweet sorrow. And as the sun's coming up, while you all are more than welcome to crash here, it's not going to be the most comfortable of things if you all were to do so. However, and this is just a suggestion, Morgan, for one person, for one kindred, for one lick, this is great. You have more than enough space to stretch out. You can't get into too much trouble. Plus, you can work on it as soon as you resurrect for the night. For the rest of us, for those of us who live considerably farther away, now would probably be about a good time to start getting. And then we can reconvene here, first thing on coming to ourselves. Unless, of course, you all want to camp out with Morgan. Either way works for me.
Morgan just nods distractedly as she is occupied at the moment.
How far are we from Lyric Cell?
You're all the way on the other side of the park. Even if we were to catch a pretty fast trip and knew a driver to get us there, that we'd be pushing it. You're on the other side of the park, and yeah, we could walk it, but either way we go, it's a little far away.
There is time to make it if you don't dally, however.
Of course, I could return the favor. Of sorts. We never did know where you lay your head, Jacob. So I don't know how far away that is. Midtown is almost roughly the same distance from here as Hell's is. Technically a little
It would
closer.
be ideal if I could stay here, but
No, that's perfect. I'm just personal comfort, amenities. While the sink works and we got hot water and I got several cleansing agents, both for the body and for other things, it's a little cramped. If you and Morgan don't mind sharing the space, we others can reconvene here upon resurrecting.
It would give the two of them more time to work on the code.
Absolutely.
Rick kind of looks at
My bed
Ben.
again.
I guess I'm good with going to your house, and you got to see mine, and you've been over mine a couple times, so obviously you can switch things up.
That sounds like a plan. And with that, he unplugged the landline, puts it back behind the chemicals and the lower bottom shelf, wrapping the cord neatly as if it's an actual cherished thing. There's not much for you all to get into, but please respect the privacy of things, and if you find something you shouldn't, don't tell nobody, okay? I'll take your silence as acquiescence that you guys are going to be respectful of the shelves and things that may be in those drawers and what have you. So, no snooping. Do what you do. Enjoy yourselves. We will see you after sunset.
I promise I will touch nothing that is not required.
You know, that's the reason why nobody likes lawyers. No one likes lawyers. You're splitting that hair really, really fine to give yourself probable innocence of honoring the letter of the law without the spirit of the law. But I'm going to say you're a good guy, Egg, so we're going to take it as it is instead of looking into that, because you split that hair real close.
She kind of rolls her eyes. And if you're going to get you something to eat before you go to bed, we should probably leave now.
Indeed. And then some. So, Pen, you're crashing with the kitties or you're heading back to your place?
I believe I'm going to sleep in my own bed.
Understandable. And with that, I bid you all adieu. We gotta do some hoofing. And after sunset, be on your best behavior. If you can't be good, be great at it. And with that, instead of going out the front door, which is closer and easier, he purposely goes out through the back, because that door opening and closing, while it is New York and you're accustomed to the noise and the vibrancy of the city, you want to keep as low profile as possible. That's the reason for always coming in the back and always leaving through that way. Hopefully it settles into place that yes, while the door is operational, no one really comes through that way.
I would probably go through whatever door I had been instructed to previously.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. You should always operate from that viewpoint.
Fair enough. So the three of you split off to find other locales for which to spend your day death. That leaves Jacob and Morgan alone in the apartment, though I don't think there is a whole lot of conversation that doesn't pertain to the intellectual task at hand. This will be an extended action. If Jacob would like to go ahead and roll, we'll go with intelligence. Then depending on how he approaches it, it could be investigation, perhaps insight, or academics. I'm sure I know which he will choose.
Yeah, most definitely academics.
And I think your specialty would probably apply here too.
Okay, so that will be... That will be 6.
That is a pretty good start. Let me roll for the blue-haired baby. Alright, so you guys make a pretty good dent, but you still have a long way to go.
We figured out the first letter is A.
Well, you got a little farther than that. You have some words. You're running into some issues that is a little more complex than what it seemed like on the surface.
We've got words now. I'd like to solve the puzzle. Oh wait,
not quite that far yet. Yeah.
This is not the right game, sorry.
The rest of you make it home without any sort of incident, I don't believe, provided you are going straight home.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, straight is a relative term. But yeah, without fail. Without too much variance. It gives us the time to mingle in amongst ourselves, especially being as getting from Linux up to Yorkville is not that far, but in the process of doing so, you pass the armory, you pass the plaza, you pass a lot of things where there are potential victims of all sorts, especially in New York, where no one really sleeps, even people that really want to. So is along the way, of course, the offer is, do you want to grab something on the way? You want to grab a nightcap? Or do we really need to talk about any of this? Because I did not mean to bring you into such a loaded, dangerous situation. I just didn't want to do this by myself. I didn't want to be put out on a limb at the behest of Noor and not have anybody that I can trust at my back.
Kind of smirks at him. Yeah, you invited me, and yet you're why I'm in this mess. But in the same thing, I mean, we've gotten in sticky situations before. We've gotten out of sticky situations. It is what the fuck it is, basically. And if something were to happen to me, it'd probably burn the world down to get back at whoever did it. But at least if I'm with you, I know that there's something I can do in the moment instead of finding out after the fact. So you can keep your guilt trip, as it were, about getting into or out of whatever.
No.
Get into and out of my own fucking thing.
Nah, not guilt trip. I want it clear between us so that you understand. I wouldn't take you for granted. And had I known it was as difficult as it is shaping up to be, while I still will have called on you for help, it would have been considerably later in the game. Having somebody that I know that I can trust near at hand is priceless. And that's the reason why I requested your help, and why I will always request your help and always ask for your assistance. Trust isn't something that comes easy to anybody, especially those like us who are already dead. So having someone that I can rely on, someone who I can play off of, someone who I can meet as an equal, someone that I can share honest ideas with and know that I'm going to get the same back. The value of that, there's no way for me to put a price tag on it. It just is what it is. So again, most pressingly, did you want to grab something on the way back? Because they're still working on the fucking building across the street. That construction is still there, so there's still a lot of stuff that shouldn't be happening, and the doctors that work out of that office over there don't make it any easier. They're coming in at all hours of the night, double and triple parking down the street, and even with it being one way, the idiots don't understand that you gotta make room for everybody else. People are so fucking inconsiderate these days, I tell you.
Let's put it this way. I don't need to eat. I could have a little bit of a sip of something, but I'm pretty sure I could make sure that you get your fill. I'm good.
Excellent. That means we don't need to do any of that. We can go through the back door. So as they near closer to his actual haven there on East 95th, instead of going all the way over 3rd to 95th and around to the front door, they cut through the small alcove between the parking garage right there on 94th through it's not a real alley because it's closed on 3 of the 4 ways in, but it is between the buildings. It's a back space where some of the condos down the block park their cars or have access to their hidden lowered garage spaces beneath their brown and gray stones, but it is still a means of egress. It's decently lit, but just dark enough to be thematic for what we're doing, and they enter in through the back of the building there between Score and 206 to get to his place.
Sounds like a potentially dangerous place to be. In my best Jason Carl voice, I say, let me make a note.
Yeah. New York's not for the faint of heart. And even being here in a relatively decent area of Yorkville, it is never as safe as one would expect, nor would believe it. You don't keep your head on a swivel. There's always someone who has less than you, hoping to get more than they had. And while it is an immediate step up in regards to socioeconomic value versus his upbringing in Harlem and Spanish Harlem, it is a little smaller, a little more intimate. It's not quite what one would expect for a upwardly mobile businessman such as himself. It's only a 2-bedroom. There's an open floor plan, hardwood floors and exposed brick throughout most of the space. There is a roof access from inside the building. No need for a fire escape, but even that is smaller than it would be, or smaller than it is up in Harlem, Spanish Harlem. The space, for all of its acclaim of being a 2-bedroom, in Harlem or Spanish Harlem, in some of those older buildings, it would be just a 1-bedroom. The open floor plan would not quantify as kitchen and living space. But here, because of the price tag, and it is relatively rent controlled, it is miles and miles and miles above the expected. Simple, tasteful art, posters from the original Space Jam, Jason's lyric, 90s movies that he grew up on most of the walls, adorning it to hide some of the brickwork. Some local painters that he's found on the cheap at one place or another. It's funny how the printing industry overlaps with the art industry, especially these days. People are getting back into the analog printing. People are trying to do posters and album covers and older technology art in regards to expressing themselves.
Well, don't get me started on the printing industry. But you guys are able to enter. It is seemingly safe. You are able to make yourselves comfortable. Same for Penny. On all accounts there. Jacob and Morgan probably pass out working. Jacob, if you would like to give me a wits and insight as your last roll of the day. The rest of you are good. You do whatever preparations you need to do for the day, and you fall into a death state.
Dos.
You notice as you are working with Morgan that she really does have a brilliant mind, which would also be evidenced by the fact that she has managed to survive as long as she has, knowing absolutely nothing in a place like New York. It is starting to become obvious to you, as in the puzzle that is Morgan, why maybe she was chosen.
He will make a mental note of it, but won't comment on it, as he doesn't want to make anything awkward while they're working.
Alright, so everyone dies for the day. We then will do some bookkeeping, which will be your waking rouse checks. Don't believe anybody has any damage to heal, so that is convenient.
Oh no.
Is that 4 accurate there, Finn?
Yes.
Why, that could be problematic. Alright, so the sun drops below the horizon. You all flick awake immediately, because that's how it works. You find yourself animate once again with the stolen vitae and life of the living. Some of you get hungrier, some of you do not. Some of you are rather hungry tonight. Feel the beast clawing at your willpower and your insides. Nothing notable that you are immediately aware of seems to have happened to you during the day. What is everyone's intentions at this point?
There's no reason for a physical closeness, but it is a small bit of comfort as awakening, resurrecting for the evening. Finn finds himself absolutely ravenous. He's always been a hungry sort, and dying hasn't really changed that. You always eat when you can, sleep when you can, because trying to build and grow, you never know when the next opportunity for such pleasures and comforts might come about. So, first things first, moving to the facilities, so moving towards the restroom to shit, shower, and shave for the evening. Normally he bothers to pull his hair back into a messy bun or otherwise maintain it with any of the number of hair ties he keeps on his person. Tonight there is no push for such things. Simple splash or dash and begin dressing. His normal, rather loquacious self is completely absent as he dresses in silence, as he showers in silence, as he begins laying out clothes in silence.
So we have the single-minded predator. Anyone else doing anything notable or making some plans for the evening?
Jacob is...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say Jacob is used to working on an empty stomach, and this is not entirely out of the ordinary for him to go a couple days without feeding when hard at work on something, so he will choose not to feed for now.
Penny will pop down one floor to her escape room and utilize a bit of her herd. Call it a night.
Where was Penny's hunger at, too?
Yeah.
Well, that is safe for the herd, then. That will still take a bit of time, so that will kill a little portion of the beginning of your evening.
It's kind of the opposite of right now. She wakes up and stretches, looks around, and remembering where they are, gets up, start getting ready to move, and notices he's off. He's not. So she kind of silent shadows him around the house Truman goes into the shop before she gets in his face, but he sets up his clothing and things like that. She's like watching him quietly, not breaking the silence, but giving him that I'm here presence. You want to talk about I'm here, need help, I'm here, but not pushing him to talk. Right before it would be like they get ready to leave, she'd be like, all right, so we gotta go meet up with the others to see what Morgan and Jacob have figured out, but you need to eat before we go in. So what can I do? I can tell. I'm biting at her.
There's a couple of stops we can make on the way. And realizing how brusque that came off, or how that comes off, Finn rests a hand against her forearm, daring to meet her eyes, which is a immediate opening of weakness to any other kindred. Because one never knows which kindred is able to reach into your soul and manipulate everything that you might be by doing so. Eye contact is the one thing that is a guaranteed. I mean no harm, and I know that, or I trust that neither do you. And then he finishes getting dressed.
Finn is quite in the danger zone with his hunger. In his particular bloodline, she's right there. It'd be easy to grab her and take what you need. It'd be so sweet going down.
Yeah, it really would be. For anybody else, it really would be a significant conscious temptation to avoid. In this particular moment, that's not as huge of a risk. As long as he has control or conscious control of himself, this is as safe as it can ever be with an undead monster. This is as much honest presence of mind and true humanity that is in fact possible. If this was his sire, if this was any other kindred, and no one knowing where they were, there's a very good chance that it wouldn't even be a coin flip. It would be a guaranteed. It would be a double-sided, double-headed, or double-tailed coin. No matter which way it landed, it would still end up in the same way. In this moment, where they are right now, as long as he has control of his faculties, that is not an option.
Flip. I feel like there's some small part of him in the back of his mind. That small hind brain that realizes she loves him to pieces. But she would whoop his entire ass if he tried.
That being said, invasive thoughts persist. Acting on them is another matter entirely. Here's the plan for the two of you anyway, is to head back where you left the other two.
Yeah, there's several. Because of the business that he is in, he is aware of far too many secrets. Most of those he purposely ignores just because of a sense of professionalism. There are certain things that he's aware of that are beyond the pale. Certain things that he doesn't feel bad about applying pressure for or utilizing to his own ends. So the goal is making their way back to Linux is to potentially swing by one or two of those places to, well, obtain what he needs. A little pressure, a little applying of social extortion to get that very, very much needed. Take the edge off to ease things just enough so that he's not as immediate threat to where they're going. The fact that Morgan is an innocent who more than likely will continue putting themselves and the rest of everyone else at risk of his beast is not something that is far from his mind. So he wants to take some of the edge off.
She does look tasty. Kindred veal, as it were.
Foie gras. Doubtful that she's as innocent as she pretends. She's too smart for that. Which is the other sinking suspicion he has. Even a cornered rat has teeth. And surviving a year on her own with any semblance of intellect, that's a weapon waiting to be unleashed. Or she has fairy godfather and godmother watching out for her.
Dumb luck is a thing.
As we're making our way, one of those stops for Lyric at least would be to pick up the bad blood she had her contact get for her last night. Like whether that she left him that message, say, I need some bags, leave them at the drop, or I'll end up with you on the way. So she would know he would need to pick them up on the way.
All right. You do have a message from this person. How do you pronounce that name exactly? Just for my own personal gratification.
What? Something. So.
You're breaking up there. All right. So we're going to make a detour to hopefully pick up some bags of blood. There was a message in some fashion returned.
Ikene, I think it is Ikene, but I call him Kenny.
Right. I just wanted to know how to actually pronounce it. So yes, he leaves you a message of some sort. How does he normally return messages?
Usually no matter what number comes up for Lyric, he knows it's probably a burner, so text usually works.
All right, so he texts you back with an address and a time, which is, not too far into the evening, not too inconvenient to get to. We will for the.
I didn't know that.
We will pull up the map, and then, for the sake of those who are tracking our movements, we will know exactly where they're going. We will say Columbus Circle. That, if I remember correctly, that seems like a great place to do illicit business.
Okay. Your usual spot.
So, Well, I see Finn has made what I believe is a hunting roll.
Yes.
Which is successful. However, being at Hunger 4, we'll need another roll.
Alright. What roll do we need?
I believe that would be your unspent willpower, which is probably all of your willpower at this point, since we're in a new day in session.
1/3 humanity or just the unspent willpower?
Yep, you're right. You do add 1/3 humanity to that.
Alright. Let's see. Alright, so what does fate have in store for DC? Or just how I possibly can?
Let me see here. I had the book open. Says that is a 3. So that's going to be an interesting result there.
Indubitably.
And unfortunately, that is a willpower tracker roll, so you cannot willpower out of that.
Not at all.
So let me, not to make a pun, but let me let that simmer in my mind there for a moment, and then we'll get back to that. Jacob, you awaken. Morgan is clearly awake, but is kind of just laying on the floor, staring at the ceiling. Probably looks like trying to get her shit together.
You alright there? He says as he waves his hand in front of her face.
It's weird, you know? Do you, ever get used to it?
Which part? The hunger, the blood, the not having sleep anymore, just suddenly blipping out of existence and then it's night again? Or just the whole being dead in general?
She turns her face to regard you with a sad little smile and says, well, I meant the sleeping part, but kind of all of it.
All I can say is it'll get easier over time. I don't think I've ever really gotten used to it, but it gets easier to cope with. You learn to make small sacrifices here and there to help yourself soldier on longer. The sleep part, though, no, that I never got used to. I still get weirded out by it and still feel like I should have that fatigue, that morning grogginess, and it never comes.
Right. It all kind of sucks. I'm gonna work on this code.
On the plus side, it's somewhat efficient. It doesn't really break my train of thought if I blip out and come back and suddenly I'm back to what I was doing again.
I suppose it's
Okay.
less. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it can kind of be convenient if I'm working on projects.
I suppose that would be useful if I could just stop freaking out about it.
One step at a time. Just take it in stride.
She nods and sits up into a crisscross position there and opens her little blue composition book to look at where she copied down all the stuff that she found as far as the code went, and then her scribbles of notes of cracking things.
Jacob will pipe up and just say, one angle I was thinking of working on is that maybe some of the cipher might be related to, dumb as this might sound, related to the game itself. Some of the blocks or stuff. I don't know too much about the game, but I figured if they were using this to communicate, maybe they would have something in there that would help them easily remember.
I didn't think of that. It does look like this one kind of is starting to make sense, but this one is gibberish. Maybe there's more than one cipher.
Here, I'll look into it. And he will continue about his efforts with her.
All right, so the two of them fall into mostly independent study. Penny, what is it you are doing?
Well, once I get done with my herd for the night, go back up and get into something a little more work appropriate for what they're doing, and head back to Finn's.
All right, we will come back to that. Lyric. Finn is feeding. You are accompanying him to the final destination. I assume that you are not breaking off on your own.
No, not with him in this state of being. She would not leave him by himself for both his own good and whoever he was feeding on's good.
All right. Assuming that you are giving him some modicum of privacy, if you would like to roll a wits and awareness for me. And just for bookkeeping edification, the roll that Finn made should not have had hunger in it, so it is not actually a bestial failure, it's just a failure. And I'm sure his victim will find that an important distinction, or not.
Probably not. There's a natural, nurtured aspect of being very judgmental. So the individuals that he typically feeds on are, in fact, the lower rung of those who utilize his services or try to utilize his services, because initially in building his portfolio of usefulness, anyone could get it. Anyone could get his services. It was all about helping people find the new them, the version of themselves that allowed them to distance themselves from everything that had come before. No questions asked. As he's aged into being a fixture when it comes to cobbling together identities and helping individuals for a small financial reimbursement to become someone else, he's growing to be more discerning. There's not anyone and everyone who's happened to be referred by someone who's used his services. Now there is a little more looking into why they're distancing themselves from who they formerly were. Now it's not just anyone and everyone who would get it. Now those who don't meet the bare minimums for his requirements of innocence, he uses them as a feeding pool. He extorts their past, their misdeeds that they're trying to escape against them so that he might get what he needs from them, their blood, their lives. Because like every blackmail artist, like every extortionist, the moment that someone pays, the moment that he gets his hooks into them to punish them for their past doings, he never takes them out. These are people who have done horrible things. Maybe not in regards to the laws of the land, not the laws on the books for us Americans, but some of these people have done horrible things in their countries of origin. Some of these people have done horrible things in their cities of origin. Some of these people have just not only broken the laws of man, but of God himself. And he makes sure that he keeps all of the dirty details to use to get what he needs from them, and doesn't feel bad about it. In fact, if he's really being honest with himself, he feels he's doing the Lord's work. It's honest work. Some of the few lies he tells himself to get through the night, get through the year.
Well, woe be to tonight's despicable, tainted victim. He is about to find absolution in one way or another. However, the lyric is just kind of has the sense that something's wrong, and I assume comes to check on what that might be.
Indeed, yes. She'd get that hair standing up on the back of her neck saying something's wrong. Maybe there's too much blood than there should be hitting her nose. That something triggers her to check.
In doing so, you find Finn hard at work, exsanguinating a person that he has judged unworthy to keep his life this evening, though a lot of that judgment was not made by his conscious mind. You do see a look in his eyes that you have seen for the second time in as many nights, even though it wasn't in his eyes the other time. Are you going to intervene, or are you going to let fate take its course?
She very carefully, approaching a loaded gun or loaded, a cornered animal, sits in eye line, catching his Finn. You don't have time to hide about it this evening. We have somewhere to be. I know you're in there. Don't make me push. Okay, let him go.
She does make a good point. Hiding a body would cover up a significant portion of your evening that you may not have. If you would like to make another willpower roll.
No, not just yet. Speaking around the gurgling, seemingly endless supply of blood being lapped and supped upon. Who says we'd have to hide them? You know, Tron Men, a well-known former commandant for the Laotian community, a leader of a rebellion force that was targeting the Laotian government to overthrow the Laotian government. And like many other rebels before him, no cost was too high to topple those in power. No man, woman, or child was a cost too much to topple the government. No action was too despicable to topple the government. And when he failed repeatedly, and when the walls were closing in, and his path for escape dwindled to just one, he killed a family, replacing them on the smuggler's ship to get out of the country. And from there, he slaughtered his way here, initially presenting himself as just a simple, humble everyman seeking the freedom of the United States. And he was smart enough, dedicated enough, and believed his lies just enough to fool even me initially. He exploited the system for his own ends. He exploited the hundreds, thousands of lives. And when confronted, after making his way here, when told about who he was, that the jig was up, you know what he offered? You know what he attempted? 3 years ago, the knife wound that I told you was in a fight. This is the person that was the fight. And when his knife didn't work, he offered money. And when his money didn't work, he offered his American family. The family that he purchased and paid for. Mail order bride, stolen children. Everything about him fake. And he offered them in exchange for his own life to keep his secret of who he is. I just couldn't let that happen. So instead of taking the life of his wife and his children and taking his newfound existence here in America, he has been the fatted calf. He's been the turkey being fattened up for Thanksgiving. And can you guess what today is? Can you guess what tonight is?
Rick gets a moment of understanding, hearing what Finn said, even though it's kind of muffled. She gets the gist of it, and then as soon as she hears that he attempted to stab Finn, she looks down at the man being held, sighs, standing, and goes, "Just hurry it up, we gotta go," and gives him back his privacy.
All right, Finn, if you would like to move your hunger to 1, unless you would like to take every last drop.
No. He'll stop at 1. Some portion of himself still hoping for the best, still holding out that very childish, foolish sense of innocence that eventually that he'll make this particular victim pay enough for his previous crimes, that eventually he'll milk enough pain from him to justify him continuing to live. Death is a gift it doesn't actually deserve, tempting though it is.
Well, Finn is no doctor, but it looks like Lyric has a little knowledge in medicine. but you are also both kindred. It is quite likely that just left to his own devices, he might not make it. But anything could happen. You never know.
Well, if you want to make another note, Lyric will very detailed get a sniff of him and mark that in her brain, because a night that she is alone by herself and not doing stuff with Finn, that man's gonna disappear.
It's quite the diabolical plan, but we will make a note. All right, leaving a man with not enough blood in his system to possibly sustain it on a floor. I assume that Finn will wipe the blood from his face as he gave a whole monologue, which would make it a rather unclean sort of beating. You head on your way back to where you left the night before?
Yes, with wiping his memory of the last few moments of conversation, reminding him that he did this to himself. This is all because of his actions and no one else's. Now, while not implanting memories at all, simply just wiping those last few moments is all that actually happens, but that conversation is very important. You did this. As much as Finn doesn't want to, he helps him up off the floor, settling him into a seat. He doesn't have any medical expertise, but he knows that people who are not long for this world, that sitting up, sitting in a chair, or being carried or moved often hastens their escape from this particular coil. The up and down of pressure changes and all of that oftentimes causing health issues that can't be prevented once they've started. Settling his hands into his lap and making sure he understands this is all your fault. Letting the wound close and then heading out. Not quite a closed room mystery, but enough plausible deniability so that, well, shit happens. It's New York.
They do seem to have a rather unusually high case of anemic deaths. All right, Penny.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it has occurred to you at some point, either on the way home or where you didn't have enough time to do anything about it, or shortly after waking, that you left one of your beloved cars double parked in another part of town all day long.
Sure did. So I would probably let's see, grab one of our motorcycles and just do a quick spin by there on her way to Finn's. Decide if she needs to find the tow company or if it's still there or in pieces.
Well, this comes as no shock. It is not there.
Clearly. Alright. I'll make a note to send a message to my retainer. He has probably dealt with this before and knows what to do, which would be likely, depending on, well, in this case, she would probably instruct him to report the car stolen because, you know, fires.
Was a place you probably don't want to verify that you were at, yes.
So, yeah, he'll have the retainer take care of that and be about my way.
All right. So, as is often convenient in role-playing games, you do not arrive all at the same time, but you arrive basically at the same time at what is today the central hub, which is one of Finn's places where he does work. You will find Morgan studiously hunched over a notebook, who looks up briefly as you come in and then goes back to scribbling. Jacob, I assume, is probably not terribly different. However, he has his own agency to act as he will. Where are we going from here?
All right, kiddies.
She comes in.
After you.
She holds up the cooler takeout, and she comes and sits on the floor between the two of them working. And it's like one of those old red and white coolers with a little button on the side, and she pops it loose and points to however many bags are inside that he was able to get.
We will say there are 2, because it's not exactly a thing that you can just run down to the Walgreens and get. And on short notice, 2 is probably generous.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty good contact, and he can get a bit, but this is fair. 2 blood bags, ice, it would probably just be a little weird.
And he doesn't ask a lot of questions, which is nice. Morgan looks at it kind of apprehensively, kind of absent-mindedly licks her teeth, but goes back to working.
What would you have preferred, Ty?
Well, kinda.
Fair enough. I love some chicken satay. Can't really have it these days, but the scent of it is absolutely delicious. One of the few pleasures I take. It's one of the best reasons to go back up to Spanish Harlem. The Thai joints up there, for some strange reason, are just a little more odoriferously pleasing. But food aside, the bev that you're turning down aside, what have you kiddies learned over the long dark night of spending time together with these electronics?
Absent Jacob starting to speak, which Morgan will give him a chance to do, she will start ranting off a bunch of technical things and going into way more detail than is necessary.
To summarize what she said, we're making progress. We have some words figured out, but we don't have enough figured out to solve the puzzle.
We at least got the edges. We got an idea as to what this may be shaping up to.
Actually, yes, but more time will be needed to finish.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about time. It's the one thing you always need and never have enough of. This is our third night at this. And not for nothing. There's a reason why the 3-day thing always happens in all the movies. You got 3 days to close the case and all that bullshit. Because despite what Benjamin Franklin said, everyone adheres to it. After 3 days, fish and house guests are almost in. You guys are smart. You're supposed to know this quote.
I was waiting for you to finish.
Can't have a sing-along or answer and call if no one actually fills out the other part. But needless to say, yeah, 3 days is pushing any limits of indulgence from our employer.
Speaking of which, we ought to at least contact him and let him know that, no, we haven't betrayed you. We're just trying to figure out what the frick is going on.
That we should. Who's going to be the guinea pig?
Not I.
What are we doing?
Buying us time.
They're trying to draw straws over who got to talk to the guy and set all this in motion in the first place.
Do you need to use my phone?
Maybe, but not right now.
He looks at and you call your I hate to do it, but you call her and let her know what's going on. And maybe she can reach out to him, or do you want to be the one to reach out?
Neither, to be perfectly honest, but unfortunately, part of being responsible is shouldering the blame, so I guess I gotta go. I already made the call to her to see if there's anything she could do, and unfortunately, as per usual, when reaching out for help, you never get it in a timely fashion. So while she goes looking for whatever it is that she's going to be looking for, I suppose that I go and talk to our employer.
That is certainly an option. Will this be a solo mission, or is anyone going along?
I suppose you'd like a ride?
Sure, that'd be great. Beats having to hop on the train.
Fabulous. Whenever you're ready.
How's about February 29th? It's a good day for you?
I don't have any plans.
Sure, you want to go putting yourself in harm's way. That's my point. And I like the phone thing, seeing as how if something pops off, you're not within grabbing distance of an ancilla.
Yeah, well, the entire city is within grabbing distance. Yeah, I suppose, let's head there, but take the very long way. My sire has a friend, an associate, a business contact of sorts down in Chinatown. We can swing by and see if they have left message or word there directly, or have decided to check their messages soon enough that they are actually potentially there.
Lovely. Scenic route it is.
All right, so making a detour over to look for Finn's sire, correct?
Yeah, they're fuck buddy, their blood husband, their fellow schismatic down in Chinatown, Yangsan. Figured we could go and raid there, find how do you do, and see if they've been in contact, see if there's any opportunity for us to get an insurance policy in place. So 5 doyers down in Chinatown is where we're going.
All right. Well, as you return to Penny's motorcycle, Penny, there appears to be an envelope sitting on your handlebars that you don't recall leaving there.
Penny will eyeball it suspiciously and sigh.
Has a neat little red ribbon around it, attaching it to your handlebars, and it looks like it's been done with an old school wax seal, though there is not any sort of signet in it.
Friend of yours?
No, not anywhere near at all. This definitely looks and smacks of the sort of fuck you, know your place of the Ancillars. Plus, my make is good for just putting things in your pocket whenever she wants. One of the many things that she's able to do very, very well. Crack it open. It's clearly assigned to you.
With the seal. Pull it open.
All right. What you find inside is a single card of stationery done on very fine, heavy stock. It has been printed with some sort of fancy, old school kind of border. It's got a texture to it, and in fine script, clearly written with a fine ink pen. It merely says 1 a.m. and an address.
That's not ominous at all.
And we will say that that address is in Chelsea.
Really? Fucking hell. Rick, you know anybody down in Chelsea?
I don't remember whether I do, please.
Just south of you. You go from Hell's Kitchen down south, right before you get to West Village. All of that space over there is Chelsea.
You are aware of several kindred who reputedly make their home in Chelsea. It is a rather upscale, trendy sort of area.
My usual hangout partners, I can't put a finger on one specific one, but it is a high-end area, so probably sort of the sort of people that our employer hangs out around.
Yeah, our employer, and then he looks at Penny. And people of their ilk. You know. Money.
Penny, if you would like to give me a intelligence and politics. Meanwhile, back at the castle, Jacob, I assume that you are just quietly working on the breaking the code with Morgan.
Yeah, for the most part, that's all he's doing. As they start working on it longer, he might try and, have some small talk here and there. Just try and learn a little more about her.
All right. right. With a little prompting, the floodgates opened, and you probably learn way more about her mortal life and college years, or her college year, rather, than you probably wanted to know.
Status.
Sure, we can add status to that roll. Nothing, however, Jacob, stands out to you as out of the ordinary for a teenage girl.
Aside from being a blood-sucking vampire.
Right, well, I mean, that's a later development in life. Alright, Penny, you also know that several of the muckety mucks call Chelsea their home. There is a high-ranking toreador that havens there. Reputedly, nobody's really invited you over to their haven. There are also a couple of Ventro in the area, if the rumors are to be believed. No one claims it actually is domain, as far as you know.
Just out of her own curiosity, she's going to bring the envelope up a little closer to her nose and sniff it.
It smells like fine ink and paper dust.
I take it that if lyrics give it a sniff, it'd probably be similar, or would she get more information?
You might get a little more. You might smell just like the faintest hint of a perfume, but mostly just the ink and paper dust.
Most of the paper has been tagged by the federal government, not just the printers. Everyone thinks that it's just the printers that they can track if there's any counterfeit being done. But it's not just the printers, it's also the paper manufacturers. So roughly, just based on grain count of the paper and weight of the card stock, is this something from a specialized location, or the stuff you can pick up at Walmart, Target, Walgreens, and the like?
It is a much finer stock than you're going to find at a big box store. Perhaps a high-end stationery store, but you're not really sure.
Yeah, definitely money. And we know at least 2 people that would waste their money on these sort of thing. And there's the fact that we were almost victims of kidnapping just last night. So, very paranoid thought on my part, and 100% I own that. I will accept that it is extremely paranoid. But what if you think this is just Mr. Edwards attempting to be hospitable and offer us a little grace and demand an accounting from us for our recent disappearances and lack of providing proof one way or the other as to what we're actually doing?
Maybe, but it feels more like the other people, whoever goons those was last night, for breaking into that office. They want to know what we know. That's what it feels like to me.
And with that immediate mystery hanging in the air, because I wasn't watching the clock, if everyone would like to take a break, or we could skip that, it's up to you guys.
I unfortunately need to see a man about a horse and a river and all of those sorts of things. So if you will excuse me, I will take you up on that 10 minutes. I will be back at just about 17 after.
All right, let's do that then. Wasn't the most opportune time, but I didn't want to let it go too long.
Nope, understandable. Thanks. See you in a bit. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello.
I am here.
And here is definitely better than none.
All right, so a few minutes ago we were having a conversation about some sort of mysterious invitation left on the motorcycle. Jacob, as you and Morgan work, if you would like to make another intelligence, and I think you and academics roll.
Absolutely. Specialty still applies.
Sure thing. All right, you make quite a bit more progress, but you are not there yet. Morgan is not a whole lot of help because you have asked her questions about herself, so she is oversharing.
Oh no. Jacob will try and gently nudge her back to work, saying, let's pick up this conversation at a later time. We've still got quite a lot of stuff to comb through here.
Oh yeah, working. Homework. Oops.
Yeah, what they didn't tell you, that even in death, you can't escape homework.
She nods and goes back to her notebook. Meanwhile, outside at a motorcycle with a envelope on it.
All right, so
Yeah. Thing is, though, if we're gonna go do this, should we go upstairs and get Jacob? I mean, he's part of this, but part of me is like, just leave him where he's at. I don't know. It's up to you. We're not all gonna fit on that bike, though.
no.
I was just about to point that out.
I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be safe.
Man, there's not much in this world that is these days. So, how do you suggest we do this? My idea is really quite simple, considering where we are, where we're supposed to be at just past the witching hour, and where we need to get to get back from, getting down to Doya and back by 1 is very, very doable, give or take a few missteps. We could head in that general direction and you could meet us with the vehicle. I'm not sure how traffic is getting to your place to get another vehicle and get
Generally
back.
not too terrible this time of day. However, I am down 1 Bentley.
We can always incidentally, accidentally borrow a vehicle for the purposes, after all.
Lyric kind of bites her lip, trying not to laugh at this. It's a horrible moment for this to come up, but she looks at them both. If only
You broke up there.
We seem to have lost Lyric. So, did you still want to swing by your stepdad's place? Or did you want to bide time until this meeting?
We really should. We need as much backing as possible. Politically, this is we are already out on a limb where somebody's head is going to have to roll. But if we get more people involved, the less chances that it's going to be our own. And with Rick experiencing some tech difficulties, we can assume while they iron that out that the answer is yes. And Penny, bypassing your place is technically on the way, and I know you don't want to lose another vehicle. As such, Finn would make the suggestion, not for nothing, I don't like the shit where I eat and all, yet there's several parking garages not far from here where we can incidentally borrow a vehicle for at least a couple hours. Just saying. Especially as if we go look at long-term parking just over off the East River over there by the Cornell Center. There's guaranteed to be vehicles that no one's going to expect for at least another 12 to 16 hours.
You do make a point there.
Hell, to be perfectly honest, if we could find a van, which is not that hard considering, we can even bring Egg and Morgan along just in case. The more hands, the easier the load.
True enough.
So, Rick, you seem to have made a connection with Morgan. You want to go through give the bad news, or you want me to go give the bad news?
fine, I'll be right. Well, we should probably get the vehicle before we go getting it, because they're probably working on stuff. Give them the time, we get the vehicle, we load up. That sounds like a plan.
Alright, good deal. Alright, so of all of us, who's the most likely to be able to, how they do it in Gone in 60 Seconds, you crack the steering column, and you take the red wire to the green wire to get things to go?
Oh, that's the easy part.
I don't know, I'm just going based on what I see on the movies, and, stealing cars isn't really my thing, not really the area of expertise that I've managed to apply my trade and my potential towards. What's the difficult part?
Getting into the car.
Why don't you show us how to do that? And, it's never too late to learn.
Do my best.
So off to a parking garage.
Yes.
And Lyric, are you going with, or are you going upstairs to break the news to the more scholarly of your group?
Too many people going along for this smash and grab would seem like a problem, so she's going to go upstairs and pack the kitties.
All right. Are you guys looking for any sort of car in particular?
Closer to probably like a moving van or something like that.
I assume you don't mean a U-Haul.
No, absolutely not.
Of course, it might be spacious. It might set up a little desk for them, do the whole police stakeout thing, put a nice big ice cream truck sign on the back of it or whatever. But a larger vehicle, just a larger vehicle in a space for everybody. They can sit and do the whole skulking in the back of the vehicle thing while they apply their trade, cracking codes after whatever. So does that have to be late model, or the something newer and more comfortable will work too? What should we be looking for?
I'd say late aughts, early teens, something that isn't necessarily so out of date it wouldn't be running, but something that's not new enough to draw too overly much attention.
Sure thing. So, offering my aid and assistance with all of Finn's vaunted learning, he knows he's looking for something that's just at the cusp of needing a chip in the key. So, not quite needing two keys for the car, for the ignition and for the door, but just old enough that it wouldn't necessarily have a chip in the key. So that it should be easy enough to borrow without permission.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, finding such a vehicle is not terribly difficult. The parking garages are full of minivans and SUVs. Finding older models also not an issue, especially considering a lot of these cars just get parked long term and sit.
Yep. Alright, so let's crack into one of these things.
That's a good idea. Well, Penny sets about circumventing security on the vehicle. Finn will just keep an eye. Just look out. This is beyond him. This is outside of his wheelhouse of actual skills.
Penny, if you could give me we will go with intelligence and drive.
It's not Crap's auto repair specialty.
No.
Darn.
All right, Penny, you would be aware that if you are going into the long-term parking section, that there is probably a place where you could find keys for vehicles, considering that these things need to be started every so often so that the batteries don't die.
Yes, but we also know how well that worked out for us last night.
I mean, that is also a consideration. Just throwing it out there as an option.
Alright, well, I will bring that possibility up to Finn.
Shotgun-wielding Nosferatu aside, it should be an easier route to go.
If you think that it'll be easier, then that's definitely what we should do. Security office. Why don't you give me a few minutes? You keep an eye on the street, and I'll go look and see if I can find the security office. That way we can get a heads up, and when you break in, it won't be the same face that you just saw several times before.
Fabulous.
Finding a security office is extremely easy because there is a booth to the one exit entrance onto the street, and not too far from that, there is a locked door with a window.
So, in Finn's humble estimation of clocking the security office, looking for signs of authority, looking for video camera banks and that sort of thing, how easy is it, or is the box for keys within easy view? Getting in the office, how difficult it is? Are they the sort that are up and down, going to vending machines somewhere in the building to find something to drink and snack on? Are they, moving back and forth to get a smoke in, or play on their phone, or just stretch their legs?
Well, the office itself has the one window that looks out. However, it is mirrored on your side, but you know a one-way mirror when you see it, or a one-way window, however you want to look at it. The attendant who is sitting in the booth appears to be thumbing through a magazine and half awake. You are sure that he has seen at least the two of you come in. He just doesn't seem to care. And he doesn't see you currently, but it still applies.
Okay. So the window's open. Get close enough to the window and just out of direct, easy line of sight, and whisper. Does he have a name tag that's visible on his uniform?
He has a name tag, but it is old and faded.
Hey, buddy. Psst. Hey,
He
buddy.
kind of jumps a little bit and looks around.
Psst. Hey, buddy.
He furrows. No, say he furrows his brow a little bit and looks into his cup of coffee like there's something wrong with it.
It's not the coffee, it's the sandwich you had earlier. Why don't you come out here and see what we got for you to eat?
And he stands up and looks around, sticks his head out the window and looks down at the ground.
I'm not the physical sort, but snatch him out so he falls on his face.
Alright, well, being not the physical sort, if I could get a strength and brawl from you, it's not an incredibly hard task, but anything could go wrong.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, through sheer force of will, Finn is able to get a hold of this poor parking attendant, and then what happens?
Pull him out of the window so that he falls. And as he's falling, of course, let go and move just out once more back out of line of sight to hopefully be able to disappear before he quite catches the full look or glimpse as to exactly what happened.
You seem to have been able to do so. You're using unseen presence, correct?
Yes.
Need a rouse check for that. But he kind of jumps up. He's doing kind of like the John Belushi jumping around from Animal House, trying to see what's happening. Well, I know your hunger is not accurate there, but noted.
Oh yeah, let me adjust that. No sense of going into accidental frenzy in the process of just existing. I'm just one trying to get along with the world.
Jacob, once you get Morgan back on task, even though you lost a bunch of time due to her prattling on about prom and freshman year and whatnot, she and you figure out that what you're dealing with is 4 different ciphers based on the direction the surface that the message was written on is facing.
Dear God. How much of them have we solved?
You are well on your way to solving one of them.
Oh, Christ.
Though knowing what you are dealing with now makes it easier to just focus on one at a time.
Well, he's not one to quit halfway, so he's at least going to solve the one that he's already started.
Definitely a moment to rub your temples and sigh.
Some part of him is having a flashback to one of his internships where it was supposed to be just a simple procedure, and suddenly it turns into this massive fucking issue when they find something in there that they weren't supposed to, and now a simple catheterization turned into an open heart surgery. And now it feels like that's very much happening again, where he's just opening up more and more cans of worms as he goes on to try and solve this.
Right? Why can't things just be easy? What you guys have pulled up from what you have figured out of the code is coming across, and you're missing words that might give it more context, but it's coming across as rather cryptic sort of messages. Almost sort of like prophetic sort of language.
So, long shot theory here. Jacob has an occult of 1 dot. Would he have even heard of the Book of Nod?
You would have heard of it, as would most kindred of the Camarilla. He would maybe know a little bit about it, even though it is some sort of book of prophecies relating to the kindred, but as far as actual passages and whatnot, he would not necessarily know those.
Maybe not specific passages, but does anything seem like, of what they've been able to determine, does anything seem like vaguely related to whatever he heard might be in it?
A lot
I
of
imagine
it.
with. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I imagine with 1 Dot, he probably doesn't know. Like, he's probably never seen the book, but he probably knows. Like, oh yeah, there's this like part in it that talks about how, Cain cursed these people and his warnings about the end of times and Gehenna.
Do not actually see anything about Cain, but some of the passage you've worked out say like the sea's boiling and the dragons will rise and all that. So it's very cryptic.
Okay. And he's just gonna continue on his quest to finish deciphering it.
Morgan prattles on for a moment about some video game she played, but then gets back to work. Finn and Penny and Lyric comes in to watch the two of them work. Assume she's not interrupting overly.
If interrupting goes, she would definitely try to do that thing you do with a toddler when you want them to try new food and you're not sure they're going to. She's kind of like trying to get Morgan to taste the blood bag at least, and then kind of, Jacob, did you say you're like you eat and you gotta be ready to go? And then other than that, she won't mess with them too much.
Morgan will, with some cajoling, take a sip of the blood bag. She will make a horrible face and kind of hold her stomach like she's about to be sick.
Well, at least we ruled it out. And then we know it's not an option for you. Sorry about that.
Oh my god, who drinks this? It's even more nasty than the real stuff. I'm never gonna get that taste out of my mouth. Meanwhile, at the parking garage, Finn has a comically confused parking attendant, and Penny is doing what?
Waiting for Finn, because he was going to go do recon and then distract. I don't know what he's doing.
Alright, so Penny is somewhere in the shadows having a smoke or examining her nails.
We'll go with that.
Finn, you have a rather confused person who can't see you. What would you like to do?
Well, therein lies the thing. I was hoping to scare him just enough and bother him just enough that he'd take off. There's only so much you should put up with at a minimum wage position, such as unarmed parking lot attendant, but clearly he's made of sterner stuff than that. So we're going to, when in doubt, keep pounding one's head against the wall and rolling that boulder right up the hill. So as he's standing there trying to suss out exactly what's happening, hey buddy, you know, in a situation like this, talking to yourself out loud is typically a very bad thing.
He fumbles his phone out of his pocket and then a cigarette out of his shirt pocket, and kind of holding his head a little bit, he walks quickly towards the exit.
I'm not sure how long that's going to take, and probably far less time than it should. Being as it is not an offensive action, and it is it's still interacting with the environment, but what are the chances of crawling through without breaking unseen presence?
Will not be a task you can perform extremely quickly, but it is a large window, so it's not at all impossible.
All right, so keeping unseen presence up just in case there's a car driving by or someone entering or exiting. Get inside and begin looking for the key box.
In the guard booth, you would not find that there. In the office, perhaps.
Okay, based on the camera bank, if there is such a thing, and if not, the general layout of what the guard booth can see, is there a way to see the office?
Yeah, it's about 15 feet away. You do notice a ring of keys that he's left behind.
Well, you know, as the great poets once said in such a situation, yoink! The keys are, of course, mine.
All right, you are in possession of a small ring of keys.
Back out, and knowing that will, using the keys will definitely sunder without effort unseen presence, move back towards Penny to get her the keys so that she might go. Hopefully one of them will open the office.
Probably. She'll snatch the keys and go to.
All right, well, just to expedite matters, because I don't think that drawing them out is going to be extremely interesting for anyone, one of those keys, though obviously not conveniently the first one you try, does indeed open the office. The parking lot attendant does not return while you're doing this. If you check on him to see what he's doing, you hear him talking excitedly on the phone to someone. Mainly about how it's been 3 months since he used, but he's having a flashback. You are able to find a lockbox of keys, which again is not locked because the office was locked, that are assigned by spaces. There are several banks of closed-circuit TV cameras because, you know, there is some sort of surveillance here. You are able to pick out a set of keys and go unlock a car and drive it off the lot.
Amazing.
And we'll say you've got one of those big 15-person passenger vans.
Nice, and get a nice little bit of relaxation on our way.
Will definitely not be cramped.
Here I thought my days of being a soccer mom were behind me.
Well, it's not a minivan, so. All right, so presumably you return to the place where the others are
We sure do.
and probably head inside to begin to round everyone up for a field trip to an unknown location. Or rather, a known location that you don't know why you're going to or who to see.
Yes.
All right, and I think on that note, that will be a good place to pause it for this evening, because I have to work in the morning, and I have worked a lot of days in a row. So, hopefully everyone enjoyed. I realize we didn't make a lot of headway this evening, but hopefully we will rectify and get some answers next week. Thank you all for indulging me, and hope you enjoyed yourselves.
Thank you very much. We will see you next week. What bells?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Night all.
Good night.
Good night. Get some rest.